Question time. Tonight, we're in London. In a week's time, the country goes to the polls. It'll be the first electoral verdict on the expenses scandal, and ahead of those European and local elections that take place next Thursday, we have with us tonight Caroline Flint, the Europe Minister, Nigel Farage, leader of the United Kingdom Independence Party, Daniel Hannan, the Conservative MEP whose attack on Gordon Brown became a YouTube hit, Joe Swinson, Liberal Democrat Foreign Affairs spokesman, Caroline Lucas, leader of the Green Party, and the entrepreneur and former chief executive of the Millennium Dome, P.Y. Gerbeau. So welcome to this programme from London. Just a sorry before we start. I'm very sorry for those of you who missed question time last week. At the last minute we went on at 9 o'clock instead of our usual 10:35 time. I know some of you didn't realise that and so missed out. So apologies. Nice to have you with us tonight. As always, text us on 83981 if you want to take issue with what's said here. CFAX page 155, running along the bottom of the screen, will tell you what others are saying. If you're watching digitally, press the red button, and I have no idea what happens then. And email us at our website if you'd like, bbc.co.uk/question time. Now, we have an audience not just from Britain, but people living in London from all across Europe here tonight. Let's go to our first question. From Florian Lepler, please.
Can MEPs claim back expenses for helipad maintenance and duck houses?
Can MEPs claim back expenses for helipad maintenance and duck houses? Nigel Farage.
No, it's a completely different system. As such, MEPs don't actually get expenses, they get allowances. So there is an allowance to employ staff, and that's the lion's share of the money. But the most controversial one, perhaps, is the general expenditure allowance, and that is a lump sum of money that MEPs are given. It's £3,500 every month that is paid directly into your bank account with no tax implications, and that is for your activity within the member state, within the constituency. So it's for us to be here in the UK. But the twist is that every day you're in Brussels, you're paid a couple of €100 just for turning up and just for signing on. And it's the worst system I can believe, because the harder you work, actually being out there, meeting constituents, holding meetings, engaging with people, the harder you work, the less you earn. So personally, had it been a receipted system, I'd be far better off. Because as somebody that spends more of his time in the UK than I spend in Brussels, I've been the most active MEP in Britain, I've spent far more than the allowance. It's a rotten system, but it's very, very good for people who move to Brussels, who live there for 5 years and don't do a damn thing in their constituencies. And when occasionally people say, well, who is your MEP? Why are they so anonymous? Well, it's because the financial system encourages them to spend their life generally on pretty useless committees based in Brussels and Strasbourg. Okay.
What were your expenses last year?
The average, I mean, it depends what you add in.
Yours, yeah.
There aren't expenses, David. We all get given the same set of allowances.
How much did you take in allowances last year, just by comparison?
It's just over £200,000 per annum for each MEP. It's a huge sum. Hang on, I haven't pocketed this. You know, I've spent this on running a regional office, I've spent this on employing staff. But whichever way you look at it, what we should be debating is that it costs the British taxpayer £1.5 million a year for each MEP, and that is the tip of the iceberg compared with the cost of the European Union to the British economy. And the sadness is we're so focused on Westminster and all the ghastly things that have happened there that a week out from a very important national election, when we're talking about a place in which 75% of our laws are made, we're not having a proper debate about the costs of the EU, and we should be.
Caroline Flint.
Well, MEPs are elected to do a job, and they have part of that job to do in the European Parliament, to scrutinise directives, to hold the Commission to account, but part of their job is what they do back here in the UK. And their allowances, like MPs' allowances, are partly to pay for staff and partly to pay the other activities they need to do in both places. And don't forget, obviously, the MEPs also go to Strasbourg as well as Brussels. I have to say that following these elections, there are some reforms coming in which I think has had support from actually across political party divides to reform the system. And as for Labour MEPs, I think for some years now they've had all their accounts independently audited, and the auditor's certificate has been published online by the European Parliamentary Labour Party. But I think, as with anything, and particularly following the discussions around Westminster, I'm sure MEPs will be thinking about what more they can do to improve the situation. But as I said, I think amongst British MEPs there's been quite a lot of considerable support for reform and change.
And what's happening to MEP salaries? MEP salaries
all
are
right,
going up.
Nigel, there's 6 of us on the panel. I mean,
say,
6 of you on the panel. And there's a lady in the second row who wants to speak, so we'll go to her next. Yes.
Could you then explain to me why I've been entitled to vote in London? I live in London Bridge for 8 years. This is the second time around. I have never received a piece of paper from any MEPs. I don't know who I have to vote for next week. I have never seen an MEP. I don't even know who they are, and I'm actually interested in what's happening in Europe.
And you, sir. And you, sir.
Sorry, yeah, I come from France, and I've been here 11 years, and I never, ever hear talking about Europe in the media or by any politicians. So I think, as you said before, that 75% of our laws are made in Europe.
That's not true.
And or at least, anyway, half of them from every country. And I think it's really important that we know what is happening next week, because it's the first program that is talking about it.